Well, continuing our conversation, I'm here with Wright. He's the editorial director of ColorLines. You can find a link at our website. Kai, you heard a bit of what Sarah Ludwig had to say about the president's speech here at Cooper Union. What is the standout point for you?
I think the standout point is, the president's rhetoric around this is on point. These 2 points he's making about Main Street and Wall Street being connected, and the fact that we have to remember that there's people behind every one of these loans that's being made. What's crucial is that we make that connection in policy as well. I think when we look at the course of this administration and this Congress, there's been too often a separation between these two ideas when we really get to actual policy. So
is there something you're looking for that you're not seeing right now in the, say, financial oversight regulations?
Well, so the bill on the table, one of the things the president wants to do is have this Consumer Protection Bureau, but the way that it's being structured now, the existing regulators are going to have veto authority over it. We're already seeing, we saw last week in the Senate hearings on the Washington Mutual's spectacular collapse. There's this building mound of evidence that regulators and executives of the banks knew exactly what was going on with these loans all along, and chose not to do anything about it. And so if we, to use the president's language, miss this opportunity to change that structure, we'll tinker with it, but we won't get anywhere. We see the same thing with foreclosures. We knew this time last year, even before, that if we didn't do something to mandate a principal write-down, we'd be exactly where we are today.
Well, let's talk about where we are. I mean, it's hard to get a handle on this economy. A week ago, you saw the market go up, hit 11,000 for the first time. Big headlines, front page news. Also, last week, news of foreclosures. 500,000 people foreclosed on in the first quarter of this year. Which is it? Are we going up or going down, economically speaking?
Well, the market got a lot of help from taxpayers, and homeowners didn't. And I think this is in keeping with the broader theme. It's sort of a return to what was going on beforehand, where there was a whole lot of folks who said, oh, wow, the economy's great, everything's great. But there was a whole lot of folks who said, this is terrible. And that's why I need this subprime loan in the first instance, because my credit has run up. I've been unemployed. The long-term unemployment in the neighborhoods that were hit by subprime loans has been going on since 2001. So in some ways, we're seeing a return to the divided economy that we had, that the president talked about today, we can't have.
Well, you talked about the bankers getting more assistance than the homeowners, and one of the banks that got assistance, of course, under TARP was Goldman Sachs, which is now facing fraud charges for very stinky-looking deal where they essentially lied to their own clients about the quality of the bonds and derivatives they were investing in. It all hinged on, that whole deal was about betting on whether people would be able to pay back their mortgages. It's the people we tend to forget about in the story as we talk about John Paulson and Fabulous Fabre and all the rest of them. Remind us who some of those folks are. I mean, you've talked to them in Atlanta and all over the country for The Nation magazine.
Well, once again, these are people who were living in communities where they had been struggling for a long time, despite the rally that the rest of the country was having. Much of particularly Black and Latino neighborhoods, but working class neighborhoods in general, were still in the 2001 recession, and so they were vulnerable to these predatory products. Speaking of things that they did deliberately, we heard, again last week from WAMU, that their business was built on betting that these people would sign these bad loans no matter what they were. They knew they were bad. The office of OTS knew the loans were bad. So Goldman Sachs, this was that we're learning some of the ugly stuff they did, but there's a lot of blame to go around, and there was a lot of willful. You hate to use the word predation, but there was a lot of willful predation, and it all hinged on going into neighborhoods that were already hurting and convincing them to take out these bad loans. And so if we don't do something to prevent that, it's going to happen again.
Well, a year ago, one of the things that the administration said it was going to do to help people was impose or create a mortgage modification plan. Has it been helping?
It hasn't. It's, the numbers are pretty bleak in terms of the number of people who actually have gotten sustainable modifications out of them. There's some signs that some people actually got taken advantage of and ended up in worse situations. The administration has inched towards some of the goals that folks said we needed on the front end, trying to encourage the banks to write down the principles of these underwater loans. But we still aren't in a place where we'll mandate it. And until we get there, we will likely continue to see millions of foreclosures a year.
Kai Wright, you can find his writing at ColorLines. We'll have links at our website, GRITtv.org. He's also a contributor to The Nation magazine.